This is acclaimed horror director Koji Shiraishi. If you're into Asian horror at all, you probably know him, or at the very least know his most famous film,
Noroi the Curse.
Noroi the Curse. Noroi the Curse.
Noroi the Curse has become a cornerstone for found footage horror, and there's a good reason for that. It's one of the best films the genre has to offer. Its dedication to portraying itself as a 90s Japanese documentary helps it to be one of the most immersive films I've ever watched. Its realism and unflinching commitment to this style is what makes it so unnerving to me, and I feel to most people who watch it. It's one of the best found footage horror films and has some truly unforgettable moments. But I'm not here to talk about Noroi. Koji Shiraishi has skyrocketed in popularity in recent years. Most recently, his long-running Monster of the Week series, Senritsu Kaiki Kawasugi, has been brought up in the horror sphere for its bizarre and campy tone. I mean, watching a group of paranormal investigators quite literally fight their way through Japan's rogue gallery of urban legends is incredibly entertaining. And part of its charm is its low-budget, over-the-top aesthetic. I've watched just about every episode and had a blast doing so. But with every episode, I couldn't help but miss the feeling Noroi gave me. That feeling of watching something so real, so terrifying, and so foreign to me that I had to dive into his filmography. And I found something that brought me back to a haunting memory. So with that being said, I want to tell you a little story. It's midnight on a Friday night, and me and my roommate are sitting on our living room couch, searching through YouTube. Our weekend routine at this point is scrolling through top 5 horror YouTubers, trying to find the scariest video that we possibly can. We'd been watching videos since it got dark, and we're immersed in the horror atmosphere that we've created for ourselves. Suddenly, we stumble across a video that catches both of our eyes, and we click it. This is what was on that video. A young man named Goto sits on the curb explaining that he was part of some sort of club. One night, he and his friends were partying and happened to be recording the night. Immediately, the interview cuts to the man and his friends cheering around a table. The video seems to be just as he described, a few college friends partying. They scream, they laugh, they seem happy. However, we cut back to the interview where Goto explains that one of their friends in that video had killed themselves. And the whole reason he is sharing this video is because he believes there is some sort of connection. Immediately, this video's strange realism has captured me and my roommate's attention. The 4:3 aspect ratio, the censoring of Goto's friend, the camcorder aesthetic, it all feels so real but so unnerving. Like those late 90s, early 2000s documentaries that you would just watch on TV. With this new information that Goto shared, the tone shifts. The question doing laps in my head is, how was this connected? We watch these college kids banter, but nothing hints at what might have caused this. That is, until one of Goto's friends points something out. Across the building, a hauntingly pale woman sits sequestered at her own table, talking to someone, or maybe just to herself. The entire group's attention is now locked on this strange woman, and so is me and my roommates. There's something off about her. Her distinct side profile, her almost paper white skin. Physically, she stands out so much. But other than that, there's nothing threatening about her. And Goto says exactly what I just did. He says that something feels strange about her. She's sitting alone at a table but looks to be actively talking to someone. Then we cut back to the camcorder footage, and it seems that the group has finally caught her attention. The night has come to an end, and more than half of the group splits off and heads home, leaving Goto and his 2 friends to figure out where they're going to continue the party next. They decide to head to the train station and return home for some drinks, and just as they are about to, this warning flashes on screen. It reads, "Warning, further viewing may cause serious harm to your physical and mental health." And now, I start to get concerned. We learned earlier that Goto's friend had passed away, so with that knowledge, you can assume what's most likely going to happen. The 3 of them stand waiting for their train to arrive when they notice something across the rails. The pale woman stands near the edge, waving at them. That's when she takes a few steps forward and hops onto the rails. And as she does, the train comes at her full speed. All Gato and his friends can do is stare in shock at what they just witnessed. They fade the footage and we assume that's where it ends. But then we get a closer look. No camera audio, just this haunting droning noise plays as we go frame by frame through this incident. It's hard to make out because of the low quality camera, but we see the woman's body lying on the rails underneath the train. It's a haunting image for sure, but that's not the reason this video has stuck with me for so many years. The video plays the last 10 seconds of footage repeatedly until we can all spot something unnatural. As Gato's friend collapses on the ground, the camera shakes for just a moment, and we catch a glimpse of this. The footage finally ends, and my roommate and I are shocked. Something about this short video unnerved us in a way I can't really describe. I know it's fake, this can't possibly be real, but the camera footage and acting all feels so natural. It really does seem like we're watching a video of a bunch of college kids just hanging out one night. And even when it comes to the pale woman, her look and feel is unsettling, but not in a horror movie villain kind of way. When we first see her, she stands out in a number of different ways. Firstly, and most obviously, is her complexion. Compared to the other patrons of the club, her skin more closely resembles the white shirt of the girls in the booth than their skin color, which is already fairly light. It's a huge contrast between everyone else that surrounds her and is already making her feel other or inhuman. The lighting and the color in the club also emphasizes her paleness. Everywhere else we see is bathed in warm colors or soft tungsten lighting, but for some reason the part of the club that she sits in is much more desaturated and lit with a harsh, clinical white light. She looks almost lifeless. If it weren't for her talking to herself, you wouldn't even assume she was alive. The low fidelity camera quality helps obscure her as well. All we get in the beginning is her side profile, and when I was originally watching this video, I assumed that her eyes were completely black because of the low resolution of the camera. Even when the footage is zoomed in, it doesn't help us understand how she looks at all. It's not till later where we get a full frontal view of her. And the terrifying part is that when we finally do see her, she still doesn't look quite right. She looks like a wax figure or a mannequin. And it's not just her look that is unnatural. The way she operates is just strange. She freaks me out in the same way the ghost woman from Pulse does. She has these stiff, lifeless movements to her. Everything feels robotic and intentional at the same time. She never blinks, she stands straight, and never once does her facial expression change. And all of this happens at a distance. The woman never gets too close to our characters. She doesn't charge them screaming, or honestly do anything malicious at all. She just watches them. Another interesting detail that helps build the uneasy atmosphere is how every person who isn't a part of the main group has their face censored. It helps us both focus on this strange woman and adds the idea that this could just be a clip from some random documentary. All of these small details and pieces come together to form a video that has never fully left my mind. Maybe it's because we hadn't watched enough horror at the time. Maybe it's because it was late, or maybe we had just never seen anything like this before. But almost a decade later, me and my old roommate still discuss this video. It was so effectively scary in such a unique way that we both couldn't stop thinking about it, and both of us had no idea where it had come from. Now, fast forwarding to a couple weeks ago, and I'm researching for my new video. I had gotten a lot of suggestions to cover Noroi, which I still might, but at this point, I'm on a roll of finding strange films, so I go diving into Koji Shiraishi's filmography. That's when I discover a little anthology film by the name of Ura Horror. It's an anthology film from 2008 that is a collection of strange paranormal short films all shot in this low fidelity style. I get about halfway through the film and I'm thinking that this might be an interesting one to break down, but that's when I'm faced with a very familiar video at about the 40-minute mark. It was a mind-blowing discovery for me. I had spent years thinking about this video and come to learn that Japan's found footage horror master was the one behind it. And now, suddenly, everything makes a lot more sense. Koji Shiraishi is a fascinating director, and in a time that predates the popular analog horror movement, he seemed to have already mastered this style of storytelling. With Ura Horror, Occult, Noroi, and many other films, he really did create some of the most memorable found footage horrors of all time. And I do recommend his work if you like that aesthetic. But I can't help but warn you all that if you haven't seen any of his movies, he's a director that is completely committed to his vision, and that is admirable. The unfortunate part though is that sometimes Koji doesn't have the budget to fully realize his visions in an effective way. This leads to some very silly CGI sequences that might take you out of the experience. However, I think he's fully aware of this at this point and has definitely shifted some of his films into a more comedic tone. All that is to say that Ura Horror is an interesting anthology series that does have some effective scares if you like this aesthetic. Not every short is a hit for me personally, but there are at least a couple worth your time, and the runtime is just over 70 minutes, so it's not going to take up your whole day. If you like creepy Japanese analog horror style movies and haven't checked out this film or Noroi or any of his other films, it's a fun rabbit hole to go down. So give this film a shot if any of this sounds interesting to you. And with all that being said, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more videos like this, and I'm Nightmare Movies, and I'll see you all next time.